Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Tony Bardo, the Assistant Vice President of Government Solutions at Hughes Network Systems. Tony, good to have you on.
Thanks, Tom.
Let's talk about EIS and why that contract vehicle, which has many task orders to go from quite a number of agencies, is suited for transformation and not merely replacement of service for service as agencies go forward.
Well, it's a great question, Tom, and happy to talk about it. This is the fifth generation of the GSA network services contracts, originally known as the Federal Telephone Service. And it's come a long way from the private lines of the FTS service. And every one of these contracts offers the opportunity to, upon transitioning from one to the next, is the idea of moving forward with the kind of technology that is available. And GSA has set this up very nicely. The timing is perfect for doing that now. And so transformation's pretty important because transitioning from like to like, or to like, it rather is just not going to get the agencies anywhere in terms of the needs they have for advanced services, advanced security, and advanced bandwidth.
Yeah, let's talk about security a little bit because security is something they need to boost up. They do need more capacity, as you mentioned, for some of the services they're planning to deploy, and transformation. How do those all tie together, this idea of capacity, security, transformation, and general better service for ultimately for the citizen?
Well, the network that existed, the network services that existed under the networks contract was the MPLS service. And these were typically characterized by dedicated access lines, dedicated facilities throughout the network, and quite secure. At the same time, broadband was coming into play. The broadband services that you and I knew at home as DSL services then transformed into cable services and fiber services and so forth, and brought much more capacity at an affordable price because the broadband services were shared across the internet. These were not terribly secure when they first started off. The security in these broadband services has advanced to a high degree of capability. Now is offered in the form of a network service called Software-Defined Wide Area Network, SD-WAN. These services now offer the security of the MPLS services and the affordability of the broadband services upon which they are based. So it is a great marriage right now between price, performance, and security by moving to SD-WAN.
And let's talk about SD-WAN, Software-Defined Wide Area Network. What is that, and what does it mean, and what does it do for you?
It is really a morphing of broadband services, managed broadband services, which Hughes introduced in the mid 2000s, and it was really an ability to get greater bandwidth in the hands of users. At the time, we were doing it in a major way with our commercial customers. We started bringing it into the government at an early stage in the sort of late 2010s, and getting the government the used to the idea of using more secure managed broadband services. And with the contract that we signed with Level 3 under the networks contract to bring broadband services to both an element of the USDA and of course the Department of Interior, it really started sinking in what these things were capable of doing. SD-WAN brings in another element of multiple path performances, path diversity, scaling and choosing the right path according to the application that you're using, whether it's voice, whether it's data, whether it's video, and so forth. So SD-WAN blends together the great elements of security, networking, smart networking, and delivers it in an affordable way to the agencies.
It sounds like something that also interacts with the cloud and hybrid environments that people have nowadays for their infrastructure versus the early days of the networks contract.
Well, the SD-WAN services and even managed broadband services are much more cloud friendly. They don't have all the overhead that the MPLS networks brought to the table, and therefore it moves traffic faster and enhances the user experience and ultimately the constituent experience.
And if an agency wants to establish SD-WANs, software-defined WANs, how do they go about doing that? Is that something they can do in-house? Do they need some service to help that get established?
Well, it was an interesting conundrum, if you will, because it was a timing issue when the networks contract was coming to a close and GSA was planning on the next generation, which became EIS. SD-WAN wasn't quite fully baked, and therefore the contract at its initiation, EIS, I mean, really was a like for like contract for the most part, but GSA recognized the need to add SD-WAN and has modded the contract and now made it available to agencies. So from a timing issue, wasn't such a great deal for the agencies that started off with their fair opportunities a while ago. There are still many to go, of course, but it is, and therefore those RFPs called for, those fair opportunities called for like transformation. So we have some catching up to do.
Yeah, it sounds like the EIS itself, though, has been something of an adaptable mechanism as new technologies and new requirements come even before the whole thing turns into task orders and business, that GSA has been able to adapt it to changing requirements.
And GSA does that every time they do these contracts, every 10 years that they do these contracts. They do a great job of that. And it's up to the agencies now to take advantage of that.
All right. Good place to take a break. My guest today is Tony Bardo, the Assistant Vice President of Government Solutions at Hughes Network Systems. I'm your moderator, Tom Temin. This discussion is Modernizing Government to Deliver Digital Services, sponsored by Hughes Network Systems here on Federal News Network.